Hey there, my name is ZW Buckley and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I want to share with you 5 secrets for making great sounding presets on Ableton Move. So if you didn't know, you can actually design your own presets in Ableton Live and then transfer them to your Ableton Move. And there are a ton of great videos out there on YouTube about that actual process of getting presets from Ableton Live onto Ableton Move. So we aren't going to focus on that today. Instead, we're going to focus on the actual presets themselves, because getting presets to actually sound great on Move is maybe trickier than you might think. The reason for that is twofold. First off, Move has pretty strict limitations on what devices can or can't be used on the hardware and the configuration within which they can be used. The second reason is that you really need to think about the limitations and the affordances of the hardware itself. What does it allow you to do? What doesn't it allow you to do? And how can you play to the strengths of the device? And so in reality, these 5 secrets that I'm sharing with you are best practices for designing presets that make the most of this awesome little box that we have here. The first secret is to take advantage of pressure. Move has what we'll call partial MPE. It doesn't have per note pitch bend and it doesn't have slide, but it does have pressure or polyphonic aftertouch. And what that essentially means is that after I press a pad, I can vary the amount of pressure I'm applying while holding it, and the sounds that you create, depending on how you design them, can respond to that. And because it's polyphonic, that means that you can vary the pressure per individual note, even if playing a chord. And so how can we take advantage of this in an interesting and musically compelling way? Well, one of the main synthesizers on Move, and the only synthesizer that you can export presets directly from Live onto Move, is Drift. And Drift gives you a whole list of parameters that you can map to pressure. So let me show you a few examples of how I use pressure to give you some ideas. So I have this great sounding pad here that I'm using pressure to open up the filter, as well as use an LFO to add a little bit of pitch vibrato. So I can, hit a chord. But if I really push down, it opens up and it feels like it is truly responding to the pressure. Let's look at another example. So this bass here has the filter cutoff, oscillator 1 shape, and oscillator 2 detune all tied to pressure. And so I can really dig into that note, and it feels like I'm literally pushing it out of tune, but it feels tangible, which again, because it is. You understand what I'm saying here though. I'm taking advantage of pressure in a way that makes it musically expressive. Secret number 2 is to make your macros count. When you're designing presets in Ableton Live using Drift, you have to nest Drift into an instrument rack and assign parameters to 8 macros. So you really want to make those macros count. First thing that I would say is that you should consider the design layout of the device. And one thing that I often do is I will not assign a volume control for any of my instruments to one of these 8 and listen coders. The reason for that being is I can simply press the track button, and then now the main volume just turns into a track volume. And so yes, that requires an extra press, but it's like this becomes a secret 9th hidden macro, which is super worthwhile. This is taking into account, again, the actual design of the physical device itself. I don't need 2 volume controls right next to one another. And the second point that I want to make surrounding this idea of make the most of your macros is that you really want to think about just assigning parameters that have a really noticeable impact on the sound. Let's take this bass, for example, that we were just talking about. I have here mapped to my macros the filter cutoff, the resonance for that filter, the shape of oscillator 1, and then some FM that I'm creating using the LFO, the attack for the filter, the sustain for the filter, the attack for the amp, and the release for the amp. These are like real bread and butter stuff, but there's a reason they're bread and butter stuff, because I can really quickly and dramatically shape the sound using these macros, which again is so useful in both a performance context and in a production context. Let me demonstrate. Secret number 3 is to take advantage of drum sampler effects. When building drum racks for Move, the only sampler that you can use is Drum Sampler, and it has a whole host of built-in effects that can be used both for tone shaping and creatively, and you have to use them. You don't want to leave those on the table because you're limited in the number of other effects that you can use on your drum rack. We will talk about that in a moment. To demonstrate, let's actually hop into Live itself. And I have here a drum kit that I've made that I am using on Move. And this drum pattern uses every single cell of the drum rack. I have all of these effects toggled off. Here's what it sounds like just on its own. Now let's actually toggle on all of these effects. From stuff like adding noise to the hi-hats or adding a little bit of stretch to the snare, it really makes the kit feel really lively. Frankly, if we actually look back on the Move itself, in your first row of macros, if I select my snare on this same exact kit, your last 2 macros are your 2 effects controls. So then I could actually take my snare and do this in real time. Now, getting back to effects, my 4th secret is to learn how to make the most of the effect slots available to you on Move. Whether you're using a drum rack or an instrument rack, you get only 2 effects. On drum rack, you get 1 effect in the return slot on drum rack and 1 effect running after your entire drum kit. When you're building an instrument rack with drift, or if you're using the melodic sampler, you get 2 effects running in series after the instrument. So what does making the most of those effect slots actually look like? For me, those effects fall into 2 categories. First, does it extend the sonic palette of the instrument? And second, does it add some sort of performability or playability to the instrument? Let's look at this patch that I have pulled up here that I'm calling Epica because it sounds like some big, epic, hybrid, organic synth, string instrument, whatever. Let me play it for you though. So in my 2 effect slots, the first one that I have here is reverb, and that definitely falls into the first category. It just expands the sonic world of the sound. If I take this reverb away, it's a very different sound. And then in my second slot, I have auto pan tremolo running, specifically in a tremolo configuration. And I can use that to take this very legato, lush, ambient pad and then to really put a groove on it, which is so musically satisfying and is super useful. It's a performance effect. You heard it in the intro. And as you can hear, that groove can be shaped in real time, which makes it all that much more musically interesting. Now, when it comes to drum racks, that calculus is a little different. It's now about A, what effect sounds good on the whole kit in its entirety, and B, what effects might sound better just on 1 or 2 or 3 pads. And for me, category A tends to be the performance effect, because it's affecting the entire kit all at once, and because drum racks on Move don't have macros. So I need to use this second effect slot if I want to affect the entire drum kit sonically at once. And so in the case of this drum kit here, I am using auto filter in DJ mode so that I can have access to both a high pass and low pass filter at once. For the return track, I have a delay set up so that I can add extra rhythmic energy to certain drums when I need to. Now let's stick with drum racks as we discuss my final secret, which is to take advantage of 16 pitches mode. This is a layout for a drum rack in which each pad can be played as if it's its own monophonic instrument. And so that takes Move's 4-track limitation, and in reality, if you had 4 drum racks with 16 pitches mode, I mean, that's what, 64 monophonic instruments, which is practically an orchestra. In the case of this drum rack here, I have 4 rows of different hybrid acoustic electronic samples tuned to C3. The first row is mallets. The second row is wind and brass instruments. Third row is strings. And fourth row is keys. And then for any of them, the second half of this grid, I can now play them however I want. And I can essentially do everything that I would do in a drum rack, but now I can play these different pitched instruments. And I mean, this could practically be a whole piece. Frankly, for everything that we heard in the intro, the vast majority of it was a drum rack with 16 pitches. Let me show you. I've come to love Move and frankly the design limitations built within it. It becomes an interesting challenge. The only difference between a desert and a sandbox is 4 walls, and these 4 walls are a lot of fun to play around in. If you want to get access to the presets that you've heard in this video and you want to support the channel in the process, all of these sounds are a part of my Synthetics Move preset pack. It's a mix of digital organic hybrid sounds, and it includes drums, basses, this awesome 16 pitches rack, and a bunch of other sounds that I didn't show off in this video. You can purchase it directly from my website, or if you are a member of my Patreon at the artist tier, you get instant access to this preset pack as well as all of my other presets. It's that support that keeps this channel running. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. I'm working really hard to try to grow this channel to 50,000 subscribers by the end of 2026, and it's your support entirely that makes it possible. Till next time.